What's up, everybody? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic.
I'm Jammin John.
And we are back here with an album review. After a long sabbatical, we got back from Deathfest. Our necks are still sore. Our feet maybe still sore. Knees possibly still sore. But we wanted to get down to some reviews. And there was one that we definitely had a fucking giant target on because we loved the last one and the one before that. Yep. So we had a good hunch we're going to like this one. So we're going to go over the latest offering from Enforced, War Remains. This comes out on the 28th of April on Century Media Records. Their second album on Century Media Records. This band formed in 2016 in Richmond, motherfucking Virginia, as Lamb of God always says. Again, third full-length overall. At the Walls absolutely crushed. Killgrid fucking just destroyed our senses. So needless to say, the expectations were really high on this one. And, well, I'll just go ahead and say, like, this is one of the rowdiest fucking thrash albums I have heard this year. Sorry, Overkill, you did well, but
yeah.
This is some young blood here that is just absolutely on fucking fire.
Yeah, these guys, pound for pound, ounce for ounce. I mean, have you ever seen them live? We've seen Enforced live now a number of times, and this is, to me, about as close as you're going to get to actually seeing them live as far as the intensity of this record. It fucking destroys.
There is absolutely no fat to trim off of this, as if there ever really was. Their albums are generally very tight, very concise, very much rooted in just sort of crossover thrash brutality, like a little dose of hardcore here and there, and maybe like a slight smattering of death thrash / death metal, and it is all on display here. And honestly, like, this is probably one of the most concise listens I've heard from them. There is literally nothing to trim off of this. This is so fucking just tight and fucking angsty and fucking mean as shit, and man, does it deliver on riffs and hooks all over the fucking place.
Clocking in at 33 minutes is something you would expect from a thrash record to have no filler whatsoever, and there's nothing. There's no filler. Right from the get-go, Aggressive Menace, it rips right out of the gate with a super thrashy, aggressive riff, just like you'd expect from these guys. But I mean, there's nothing. There's no intro, there's no nothing, just bam, there you go.
Dude, some crushing turnovers, and then you're into machine gun fire, nasty breakdowns, and I mean, that is pretty much like kind of a microcosm of this entire album. It's just fucking relentless, and the riffs are so damn good. A lot of this really kind of brought me back to stuff like Beneath the Remains, because there is, again, that slight bit of like death thrash to it, but also a lot of like cool hardcore build-ups in terms of like their transitions, getting into groovier sections, which honestly, this album might groove a little bit more than Killgrid.
Yep, which was tough to say because Killgrid again was such a banger of an album, but there's groove all over this record. Songs like The Quickening, Mercy Killing Field, Starve, Empire, it's just all over the place. And they do such a good job at having both really thrashy, heavy D-beat sections and sick fucking throw a chair at someone grooves.
Yeah, like, this is mosh-worthy. Like, this album was designed to wreck necks and probably do, like, you know, hopefully damage that is covered by insurance at venues, because, man, this just inspires fucking violence. A good chunk of that has to do with, I think, a bulkier production this time. Mm-hmm. This album, like, tonally and musically kind of sits between At the Walls and Killgrid. It's a little bit more raw like At the Walls, but it still has a little bit more of that, you know, refined quality that Killgrid had, but, you know, it still was absolutely aggressive as hell. But the mix on here, also done by Arthur Risk, who he did the last one too, it feels bulkier, it feels heavier, especially in the guitars. The rhythm guitars have just this amazing thrash crunch, such a classic sound to the guitars. It's almost, you know, like kind of that token sound you would hear in a lot of late 80s thrash or early 90s thrash. And Will's lead tone is absolutely classic across the board. Like, it's, you know, the token thrash lead tone. Like, it soars over the guitars really well. Lots of cool dive bombs, but also lots of killer melodies. The drums pack such a fucking punch on here.
That snare drum just has a fucking pop to it. And overall, the entire kit just sounds heftier, beefier. And it sits well in that mix with those gritty, crunchy guitars.
And NECKS, their front end, much more out front in the mix this time, and more vicious sounding. Like, he sounded vicious before. Like, I know Rin said, like, he's not doing that shit safe, but, like, you know, this is kind of hardcore and crossover and thrash, so maybe fuck safety. But This time, I think he sounds like he's kind of found this perfect little like sweet spot between like a hardcore yell and like a thrashy, snarly delivery. I don't know if he's doing it safe. I don't think he gives a shit because I've seen him on stage and he's just out there to fucking stir the fucking pit, and he does an excellent job of that. But the vocals on here being much more out front, I feel like that extra level of rage just kind of comes out because that is the entire mood on this.
Kind of reminds me of Riley Gale from Power Trip, actually.
Yeah, a little bit. Less reverb, I would say, but I mean, just like in your face sort of hostility.
Now, I know we've mentioned speedier parts, obviously. They're a thrash band, crossover thrash, as you will. But there were a couple of more mid-tempo songs, which I found to be really tasty to the ear after having my head bashed in so much. Songs like Nation of Fear and Starve both have notable, more mid-tempo, like stomp moments to them.
Yeah, I do like the fact that they like to settle into these really solid grooves, but the guitars generally don't slow down either. Like, they're kind of keeping that machine gun pace on top of these grooves. You get that great fucking bell ride sound on top, and you can't help but to headbang. Like, this is a headbanger's fucking wet dream, and that is both for, like, headbangers that are in their, like, fucking mid-50s to, like, brand new ones. I think this album appeals perfectly to both old school and new school fans because you're going to get a lot of familiarity for the old school, but also sort of that, you know, youthful fucking aggression that really reaches out to people with better knees than me. But I like when they mix it up a lot where you get faster sections, groovier sections, and then get this cool little kind of give and take. The title track does that beautifully. There are some of the most crushing fucking grooves in that, but also these nasty thrash sections, blistering leads. Again, that machine gun fire guitar that is constantly going. Dude, it's a fucking war zone on this entire album if, like, every fucking stroke of the pick was a fucking bullet.
Yep, yeah. Even the breakdown in War Remains is heavy as fuck. Which is something that appears a lot more in this record, too. Like, even though the guitars may not slow down so much, so to speak, like the drums, the rhythm section does really well to slow it down and to almost, like, sludge it up at times.
Yeah.
The breakdowns are just sick.
It's, again, like that little bit of, like, hardcore groove. Like, it's a different kind of fuck you dad music. I'm going to throw this chair. You know, they're probably not drinking because they got X's on their hands or some shit. I think the only time, like, the riffs really slowed down quite a bit are probably on the last track, Empire, which, man, right away, that opening riff sounds super familiar. It's very much in the vein of, like, it's totally not, like, the same as, but Seasons in the Abyss, the song. And to a degree, Slayer in general on this album. There's a lot of big Slayer riffs, but that song in particular, a little bit moodier opening before it inevitably takes off and just, you know, thrashes your face off. But Slayer is all over this. And I know all those guys are big Slayer fans. We've talked to them before. Now, Slayer riffs have always kind of been like part of their sound anyway, but I think this time they kind of leaned more on like Jeff Hanneman. Enforced in blood.
That's fair. I have no argument against that. That's actually really fair. If you listen to this record, you're going to figure that out.
Yeah. I mean, I would say it's probably a little bit groovier than Rain and Blood, and I would say, like, the dynamics are slightly different. Like, again, you have, like, a lot of those kind of cool hardcore build-ups where the transitions sort of heighten energy. It's not just moving on to the next section. It's like, get ready, the pit's about to explode, and so will your nose and teeth. Now, while it's pretty apparent that I fucking love this because I'm an old school fucking thrash fan and this just has a certain kind of energy to it, I will say there are a couple of gripes I do have. There is a bit of a formula on here and it gets repeated very often. There are a lot of songs that start off with a big, slow, kind of like groovier riff or groovier section, then it just leads into a thrashy barn burner. And that is repeated quite a bit. Starve, Avarice, Quickening, all these kind of hold on to this sort of, you know, similar style of writing. And it's really not much of a problem because I like it, but I do feel like it does get repeated a lot. And when it came down to trimming the fat, I think they might have trimmed off a little bit of meat on certain tracks. like Ultraviolence and Nation of Fear. Nation of Fear kind of stands out as like the lone solid groovy song. Like it doesn't break out into like a big long thrash section at the end or anything like that. But I feel like it kind of just ends. It opens up beautifully with a killer isolated riff. In fact, the first thing I wrote down was "Fear this riff, bitch." It's awesome, and I like the fact that it kind of slows it down and it still just delivers an energetic song, but it kind of just cuts off.
And the same issue with Ultraviolence. First of all, it's like 2 minutes and 10 seconds long, so I get it. And while they do pack the song full of great moments, thrash, D-beats, breakdowns, what they do and do well in all these songs, but it just kind of ends abruptly, albeit not as abruptly as Nation of Fear, which just cuts off.
Yeah, that one, it felt like there was more coming.
Yep.
At least with Ultraviolence, like, I mean, it felt like it was the end of the song, but it felt like it could have gone, like, maybe a couple more measures, at least with the lead, because it ends with, like, a really cool short lead.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was kind of like the issue where if you're trimming out fat, I feel like they were doing it with a scalpel, and you just try to get, like, every little bit, but I think they got like a little bit of meat on here. But honestly, that doesn't hurt it very much.
Nope.
Because like with thrash metal, I'm looking for like sort of that full throttle listen, especially with crossover. Crossover should be uncompromising as hell, and that is exactly what this album is. This is an absolutely ferocious, merciless fucking listen, despite them actually having a song called Mercy Killing Fields. There was no mercy there.
None.
This is just riffs and aggression, and it is done so fucking well. So overall, I'm going to give this 4.5 stars. I enjoyed the shit out of this. Like, warts and all, even the warts are, like, pretty fucking awesome. Like, they're like Lemmy's warts. Like, you can't fucking take those off. Well, you can't take them off now. That'd be kind of weird.
Well, yeah, but, no.
But I love pretty much every second of this. You know, my gripes, again, very minimal. I think the production on here is even bulkier, and I like it this way. Like, it sounds more heavy, more urgent, more in your face.
Yep.
Like, this is possibly going to be one of the heaviest thrash albums this year. I mean, I could be wrong there, but I don't know. I think it was right last time when it came down to Kilgore.
Yeah, dude, for sure. I love the shit out of that record. I still love the shit out of that record.
Jam the fuck out of that album still, and I'm going to jam the fuck out of this album. This is absolute thrash excellence. If you're a giant fan of Power Trip, Slayer, Beneath the Remains, especially, like, if you just love your thrash fast and aggressive and just mean as shit, this is the album to get. Check it out.
Yeah, my gripes are actually even more minimal than that. I thought maybe the lead could have come up just a smidge in the mix because I thought it got a little overpowered by the rhythm guitars. That's not really a big gripe because it was still badass. Secondly would be the cutoff in Ultraviolence and Nation of Fear. Again, that's not a gripe either because those are still awesome songs. There's not a single song on this record that I didn't star. So yeah, it's also a 4.5 for me, and the 4.5 is pretty high too. I mean, we'll see what happens, but I don't see myself not listening to this record. When we reviewed this was the 5th time today I've listened to this album. That's how much I liked it. It is a killer record. There is no filler, no punches pulled. I mean, they are out to get you. It's mean, it's heavy, it's angry, it's aggressive. It's all the wonderful things that we like about thrash.
It's pretty much Get Wrecked Poser, the album.
Yeah, yep. As if this band needed to mature anymore beyond Kilgrid, they definitely did in this record. They just pulled out all the stops and said, here you go, in your face, throw a chair, throw a table, throw a rock through a window. Not your own. But, yeah, it's a killer listen through and through, and I kind of knew it would be anyway. But, yeah, like Nick said, if you're a fan of Slayer or Beneath the Remains or Power Trip or even Municipal Waste, you see we're both wearing shirts. We didn't plan this.
Mine's better.
You know, sometimes you just show up wearing the same shirt. At least they're different shirts, same band. But anyway, yeah.
Richmond, Virginia, though.
Yeah,
that's why we were.
That's why. Yep.
And then Municipal Waste.
Totally
awesome.
what. Yep. But yeah, it's a 4.5 for me. This is a fucking banger of a record. You definitely need to go out and pick this up and listen to it and throw a chair.
Yeah, get some Advil too, because you're gonna fucking.
You're gonna need it. I tell you what. After the week or the last couple weeks that we've had, I banged my head a lot at Denver Death Fest. Denver Death Fest was fucking awesome. So is this record.
Yes. So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there is a link down below to thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is there, obviously, and we will be eventually loading up on stuff in terms of merch. Now that we are free from the Death Fest, we have time to actually work on some other stuff.
Yeah.
And we're kind of toying around with some other different merch ideas. We might even have like a cool new logo design on a shirt too, gifted to us by an awesome fucking fan that showed up at Denver Death Fest.
Dylan Baker, you did a tremendous job. First of all, really cool dude, man. It was nice to meet you. But he gifted us a Thralls of Metal piece of artwork that is pretty fucking sick.
Fucking awesome.
That we plan on incorporating into our whatever we're gonna do here, but it's definitely gonna become a part of this channel. It's fucking sick. Thank you so much. There was another fan too that gifted us some Carcass shirts.
Yeah, he went to the Carcass show that was on the same day as day 2 of the fest, and I mean, I don't blame him. It's fucking Carcass.
Yep, I was even talking about leaving my own show to go to Carcass, jokingly, but I mean, I was close. That's pretty fucking sick. And unfortunately, we can't remember his name. I'm pretty sure he goes by Doom Machine on YouTube. However, right. Don't quote me. And I'm really fucking sorry, because I really enjoyed talking to you. Great time, great dude, and thank you so much for those shirts.
That was awesome, dude.
Man, once again, Denver Death Fest was fucking killer. I hate to tag that on to the end of this video, but I'm going to. It was a really good time. We sold out all 3 days. Every band fucking brought it, dude. And every band brought something unique, and it was so awesome to be kind of just immersed in all of that. The concert goers were cool. The people involved were great. It felt very family oriented. Like, I fucking loved it.
Denver fucking loves its metal scene.
Yes, they do.
That is really awesome. But we're not going to spoil all this, because Miller and John here are going to do a cool recap for you at some point.
Cool recap. We got some cool footage. They're just a bunch.
Yeah.
I went to breakfast with Dallas Toller Wade.
Well, I mean, technically it was like a late night eat, but yeah, that was fun.
Yep.
But anyway, thank you all so much for liking, subscribing, following, all that shit. It means the fucking world to us.
It really does.
Tons of content coming your way. We got, some old segments resurrected. We've got some new segments coming up. Plenty of shit we're working on, because there's so much metal to cover, and we're just obsessed enough to keep fucking covering it.
Yeah, it's really, really... I'm excited, dude. I'm excited for the future of this channel in the upcoming months. We got a lot going on. I'm really happy to be able to just have some cool shit on the docket.
Yeah. So once again, thank you all, and we will catch you later.